If you don't click that subscribe button right now, you're a goddamn hater. Yo, what's good, y'all? Chef London back with another video. Follow me on Instagram at King London Supreme. Today we got a good video. Is dairy preventing you from accomplishing your fitness goals? And I'm gonna give you about 10 reasons why you should kick dairy out of your diet and start implementing other things, all right? First of all, I just wanna start this video off by saying that my body didn't really start changing until I eliminated dairy out of my diet. That's the first thing I want to say. And I did that probably like 5 years ago. I want to say in like 2013, 2014, I just kicked dairy out of my diet completely, and your boy started getting ripped. As I started doing my research, I started becoming more savvy in nutrition. I realized why dairy was preventing me from accomplishing my fitness goals. I used to eat a lot of cereal, man. I was like maybe 2-3 bowls of cereal a day. I'd have like 2 in the morning, 2 at night. And what people don't realize is dairy's fat and it's sugar. All right, but before we even dive even further into this, I think we need to define dairy, right? So what is dairy? Dairy's milk from mammals, so primarily cows and goats, buffaloes too. So another thing about milk is we just started drinking milk not long. We've only been drinking milk for a few thousand years. Some people say around anywhere between 7,000 and 10,000 years, and it originated in Europe. What falls under the dairy tree? So that's cheese, that's milk, that's butter, that's yogurt, that's ice cream, that's sour cream, and that's whey protein, right? Now, a lot of people tend to throw eggs, and I'm guilty of this too. I used to throw eggs in the dairy department, but eggs don't come from a cow, and they come from a chicken. So eggs are not in the dairy family. Now that we've defined dairy, we can move on with the video. 65 to 75% of the population is lactose intolerant, meaning you cannot digest milk. And you know what? I'm lactose intolerant to a degree. Now there's different extents, right? There's people who are super lactose intolerant and will get very sick if they consume dairy. But then there's subtle, like I'm more along on the subtle side. Anytime I consume a large amount of dairy, particularly milk and like large amounts of cheese, I get extremely gassy, constipation sometimes. I'm using the bathroom. It's subtle, right? Like, and if you don't pay attention to it, but your body's not supposed to react like that to food. You're not supposed to feel gassy and over the toilet and immediately digesting food multiple times. That's not a normal response to food, which means that you probably have a subtle allergic reaction. But if you're not paying attention to these things, you won't know, right? You would just think you're gassy. Make a long story short, almost 75% of the population is lactose intolerant, which should tell you something right off the gate, right? You should avoid this. Now here's something else. A lot of people equate dairy to bone density, to reduce fractures. Like, hey, you need to drink. That's what they used to say back in the day. Like, you should consume 2 or 3 cups of milk a day just to improve bone density, reduce fractures. But there's no science supporting that, right? In fact, they say that drinking milk may increase fractures and osteoporosis, right? And so there's 2 parts of the world that consume very little dairy, if not zero. It's in Africa and Asia. In these areas, osteoporosis is almost non-existent, right? So these people do not consume dairy. I'm sure there's some other factors that play a role in that, but these people don't consume dairy, and they have the lowest percentage of osteoporosis, which a large amount of the population will have osteoporosis by the end of your life, right? Your bones become brittle. So the other misconception is just calcium and vitamin D. And what they found is that calcium really doesn't increase bone density. It's more so vitamin D. And you can get vitamin D from other sources aside from dairy. Another reason why you should avoid dairy is that it's linked to prostate cancer. They've done the research. They found a correlation between milk and prostate cancer. I mean, look, that's a deal breaker right there. So another thing is that milk is also associated with acne. So, and this is a fact. A lot of dermatologists don't even know this, but there's a lot of science behind this. They could explain. And you know what? I'm not even going to go into it because it really doesn't matter, right? Just know that they've done scientific research and they've proven that milk increases acne. That's another reason to avoid it. The other reason is just that a lot of these cows that they're getting the milk from, they're pumping them with antibiotics. They're pumping them with growth hormones so they can get bigger and produce more milk. They're feeding them grain. These cows are sick. I mean, this is a real thing. And that's why it's so important. If you are gonna drink milk, you gotta get organic. You should be doing everything organic to the best of your ability. But I'm telling you, these animals are sick. These animals are very sick. So if you do decide to drink milk, make sure it's grass-fed, all right? Try to get organic milk, make sure it's grass-fed. You want to do that with all food. Just putting that out there. That's important. Recommendations, I suggest, you could get vitamin D, you could get calcium from a number of sources aside from dairy. You could get this stuff from leafy greens, you could get this stuff from lean meats, you can get this stuff from nuts, all right? Fruit, vegetables, etc. So just do a Google search, find out which fruits and vegetables are high in vitamin D and calcium, and this is where you could get these nutrients. I still use a little bit of dairy. I put a little bit of cream in my coffee to the point it's so insignificant that it would be considered zero dairy in my diet, right? That's how insignificant the amount of dairy that I take. So I say that to say this: if you do eat it, if you do consume dairy, like if you have yogurt, probiotic yogurt, that's fine. I don't think that's enough to where it's gonna really negatively affect you as a human. But if you can't, try to go with a vegan. When I have yogurt, I do vegan yogurt, man. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Do me a favor, click the subscribe button and like the video. If there was anything that you learned today, like the video. I'm your boy. I'm Jeff London. Holla at me.